during that couple of years, I really started to think about, well, my marriage must have ended because I'm not worthy. I'm too fat. I let myself go. As we do, we find
Yes.
something to grab onto because blame has to go somewhere. And so, of course, I took on all of that blame. That just caused a whole new host of problems, right? So,
Yes.
yeah. And so finally, after a couple of years, I just woke up one morning and I thought, no, something has to change. I didn't know what.
Today's guest is Caissie, life and body image metamorphist coach, founder of the Body Kindness Sisterhood group, and creator of the Ditch the Diet Academy. Welcome, Anne.
Thank you so much, Anita.
So, I'm really excited for this conversation we're going to have. But before we dive deep into that, what is one of the most courageous things you have done?
Wow, there's so many. Probably the most courageous thing that I've done is learn. I mean, this sounds so simplistic, but it's learn how to pay my own bills as a 50-year-old woman. Learn how to make a car payment. Learn how to get my own apartment. Those kinds of things. Never had to do any of that in my whole 50 years. And then all of a sudden I had to, and I did.
That's brilliant. Yes, absolutely. Being independent.
Right. It's the simple things that sometimes we find so difficult.
Yes. So what took you on your journey of becoming a life and body image metamorphist? I love that word, metamorphist, coach. Did this naturally fall into place, or was it from your experiences?
A little of both. Anita. So, if you can picture going back a number of decades, I distinctly remember as a 16-year-old girl looking at pictures of myself thinking, wow, you are just so fat. And in reality, when I look at those pictures today through my adult eyes, I see a 5'8", 99-pound girl. You could see collarbones from across the room. So I clearly was not what I was seeing in the mirror. And I kind of embodied this already. I'm not worthy because I don't look a certain way. And I carried that with me through decades. Now, those feelings I'm sure could have started far earlier than that, but I distinctly recall it starting around my teenage years. My butt was too big in my jeans. And of course it was the 80s, so those were Jordache jeans, right? So my stomach wasn't flat enough. My hips were too big. My thighs were too big. Every time I looked in the mirror, I just hated what I saw. And I carried that with me for years and years and years. When you become wildly aware of what your body looks like, it overtook every single aspect of my life.
Gosh.
Everything I did, everything I thought, every event I participated in, all centered around what I looked like in the outfit I was wearing. Did I fit in? And I truly and honestly believed that I was fat.
I mean, we do. We have this own body image, and it's so important to us. I mean, then there was people on the television,
Yes.
and at that time. But now we have social media. It's even more and more so complex. Having our own confidence. What confidence if you have all the things like you've said, low self-esteem, and you look to the next person and in your eyes, they're the perfect size 10, 8, whatever it is. And here we are slightly heavier than that. We do have these complexes. I mean, so what was your turning point?
Yeah, so if you fast forward a few years, I did what many women do. I had children and I got married and
Mm-hmm.
was keeping house and doing all the things that we do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Nothing extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
A comfortable life, raising the kids, taking them, to and fro their appointments and their baseball and soccer and things like that. Making dinner every night, making sure the kids' lunches were packed.
Mm-hmm.
My husband was working and would come home and dinner would be on the table. So I was doing the quote
Mm-hmm.
unquote the norm. But as a result of doing the quote unquote the norm, I came last
Mm-hmm.
because the house had to be cleaned and the kids had to be cared for and the laundry had to be done and the gardening had to be finished and et cetera, et
Mm-hmm.
cetera. So what would end up happening is, I would make sure the kids were fed and ready, and then I
Yes.
would stand at the counter and finish off the leftovers for a meal. I didn't have time to go to a gym. Also, we didn't have the money for those
Mm-hmm.
kinds of things in those days. By the time all of the day work was done, plus my day job was complete,
Mm-hmm.
I was exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of, making special time for myself, I would either just sit in front of the television or go to bed and sleep. So
Mm-hmm.
there was a total lack of self care.
Yes.
And I blamed it on, I don't have time. I don't have the
Mm-hmm.
energy. Now, hindsight tells me different. But when you're in it,
Yes,
I
that's
mean,
right.
we are busy. I mean, and
Mm-hmm.
having the kids, right? I mean, your
Mm-hmm.
days are full, you know,
Absolutely.
and so any form of self-care for me was out the window.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I didn't consciously say or think, that's it, I don't have time. It just kind of morphed into that.
Yes.
So I was binge eating because I wasn't sitting at a table to eat my meals with the
Mm-hmm.
family. I was exhausted by the end of the day or stressed. So I was drinking too much alcohol to
Mm-hmm.
help numb, or help me sleep
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. No exercise of any kind. And really, I was just living with this general sense of apathy. It didn't matter. Nothing mattered. I was getting by. And then all of a sudden it was 25 years later and my husband uh, um, packed a suitcase and left.
Oh.
Walked out the door.
Mm.
So then I find myself at 50 going, what the heck just happened? Right? And I had been
Mm.
living in this situation where, aside from taking care of the children and getting them all grown up and out the door to college or to university,
Mm-hmm.
working my job, taking care of the house, I didn't have to do things like pay bills.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to do things like worry about finances,
Mm-hmm.
pay a mortgage, none of
Mm.
those things, because he took care of all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I also found myself in a place where I had gained so much weight because I wasn't taking care of myself.
Yes.
I was subsisting on alcohol and fast food, basically, and now I'm divorced.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of the pivot point for me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I allowed myself a couple of years of grieving that relationship. So the situation just got worse and worse during those couple of years because,
Imagine. Mm.
yeah, not getting out of bed until, 5 minutes before
Mm.
work, barely making it through my work day, coming home and drinking until I was asleep. That's
And
what
I
I did.
think,
Yeah.
you know, that can absolutely happen for a lot of people.
Yes. Yeah.
It's turmoil, running the house, looking after everyone else. We tend to put ourselves last when we do have a family. That's
Hmm.
a natural given sometimes. It's just about trying to get through the door, through the day.
It really is. It really
Mm.
is. During that couple of years, I really started to think about, well, my marriage must have ended because I'm not worthy. I'm too fat. I
Mm.
let myself go. As we do, we find
Yes.
something to grab onto because
Mm-hmm.
blame has to go somewhere.
Mm.
And so, of course, I took on all of that blame. That just caused a whole new host of problems, right? So,
Yes.
yeah. And so finally, after a couple of years, I just woke up one morning and I thought, nope, nope, something has to change. I didn't know
Yes.
what, but something has to change. And so
Mm-hmm.
for some reason, I was called to just get away.
Mm-hmm.
And so I booked a trip to Cuba.
Oh,
I couldn't,
lovely.
I couldn't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. I put on my Visa card, but I knew that I could just feel that. Maybe you felt this, Anita,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of, oh, I got to do something. I got to do, I don't like, it, it's all like you're standing on that precipice and
Mm-hmm.
you're either going to fix it or you're going to jump.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I got on the plane and I went to Cuba. I spent a week there. I made a promise to myself that I would take full advantage of being there. So I walked the beach every day, all day.
Lovely.
Well, I ate good Cuba food, right? But I ate good food. I went to every meal on time,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of got back into that routine of fueling my body, cut out the alcohol, even though
Mm-hmm.
there was plenty and it was free because it was included. And I slept. I spent a lot of time sleeping on the beach in my room, and I enjoyed Cuban coffee, and I journaled. I just knew that something big was about to happen. Whether that was my
Mm-hmm.
own metamorphosis, I didn't know, but the idea and the seed kind of got planted
Mm-hmm.
for my body kindness sisterhood and my Ditch the Diet Academy right there in Cuba. Of course, they weren't fully formed at the time, but I knew that I was certainly not the only woman that was going through this.
Absolutely not. Mm.
I wasn't the first and I certainly wasn't the last.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got on the plane to come home and I sat there and I said to myself, not out loud because I was in the middle of a plane with lots of people around me, but I said out loud, I am ready to take responsibility
Mm.
for my life. If I want to change,
Mm-hmm.
I have to do the work.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So a little bit of tough love there. I think that, over those 2 or 3 years, I was waiting for someone to come and give me the answer
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't have that faith in myself or my own ability to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes, people will say a geographical change is as good as anything. And so I think
Yes.
that jumping on that plane was probably what saved my life.
Wow. It's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it is tough at times. And as much as we want intervention from outside of us, it has to come from inside of us.
It does.
It's the inside out. And that person you're looking for, look in the mirror.
Yeah.
That's the
Right.
person you need to love and
Yeah.
honor and be with. So yes, I can
And
absolutely understand that.
we don't.
Mm,
I think that women of my generation, we're still somewhat stuck in that do for others first mentality,
mm,
right?
absolutely. And
Yeah.
I totally understand that it's about care, but it's self care.
Yeah.
We have to look after ourselves so that we can look after everyone else.
Hmm. Exactly. And I mean, even when you get on a plane and they
Mm,
tell you put your own mask on first,
yes, absolutely.
right? It's as simple as that. I
Mm,
think we have to almost retrain ourselves to allow that to happen.
mm-hmm,
And so, I came home and I thought, I need some coaching. I need some sort of assistance
mm-hmm,
just to get me going. And so I searched and I searched and I searched. What I did realize is that, I didn't want to just lose weight. I didn't want to just learn how to do self-care.
mm-hmm,
I wanted something to help me with my mind, my body, and my soul.
mm. Yeah, that mind shift
Yeah,
that we all need.
yeah.
Mm,
And so I could find lots of programs out there that addressed eat this and not that, do this exercise, journal, all,
Mhm.
and they're great programs. They really
Mhm.
are. But I was looking for something a little more well-rounded, because
Mhm.
the idea started germinating for me that if I wanted to lose weight,
Mhm.
if I wanted to feel better about my body image, it had nothing to do with the food that I was eating, and it had nothing to do
Mhm.
with the exercise I was doing. We don't need to lose weight in our bodies. We need to lose weight in our minds,
Yes, absolutely. And
right?
that just goes back to when you were saying you look at photographs back of
Yeah.
yourself, and it was in your mind what you thought of that body, but yet the reality was, looking back now,
Yes,
you weren't like that.
that's right.
Mm.
Yeah. I started thinking about those goals. How was I going to work towards those goals? And it came to me that, if I could start looking at things like what clothing is in my closet?
Mm-hmm.
What food do I enjoy eating? And why do I classify my food as good food and bad food? Why am I treating the food that I feed myself as something wonderful or something, oh, cheat or terrible, when really
Yes.
food is meant to fuel our bodies so we can do
Yes.
things, right? Why am I going to Zumba class when I
Mm-hmm.
hate Zumba? So I
Yeah,
started thinking
gosh.
about those things,
Yeah.
and it occurred to me that we do things that we don't like and then wonder why we're not succeeding.
Mm-hmm.
It and I'm guilty. For
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
I did those things. So
Mm-hmm.
what I started realizing is that, you know what? I like running. So
Mm-hmm.
why am I not running? When I have a special dessert, I mean, I'm a cheesecake girl. I love cheesecake, right? So why am I not having a slice of cheesecake? Because what happens is if I don't have that little slice of cheesecake, I eat the whole cheesecake because I
Absolutely.
think I'm
That's the
not going to
thing.
get it, right? So
Mm.
so those kinds of ideas started kind of moving around in my mind, and this is where my body kindness sisterhood group kind of
Mm-hmm.
grew, because I want women to come to this and realize the power that they already have, and that it doesn't
Definitely.
yeah, it
Mm.
doesn't matter what size you are, because if
Yeah.
you start working on the mind, body, and soul, you know what? The weight's going to come off anyway.
Yes. And tell me more about your body kindness practice.
Yes, so mine is. It's so rudimentary, Anita, but it's so effective.
Mm-hmm.
So I am all about quality and not quantity.
Yes.
Quality, not quantity. So
Mm.
I love to, I have a beautiful meditation practice. And oftentimes what I'll hear from some of my clients is, oh, but Anne, I just don't have half an hour to sit down and meditate. You don't need half an hour. So, we're all busy, right? We're all busy.
Mm-hmm.
So my meditation practice is 3 minutes, but
Wow.
I do it every day.
Mm-hmm.
It's a non-negotiable. I make sure that I sit and meditate, and I meditate on whatever the subject matter is of the day,
Mm-hmm.
right? Sometimes I just focus on my breath, meditation, and the most important part of my self-care is gratitude journaling.
Mm.
We forget
Definitely.
about this, right? There's so much for us to be grateful for.
Mm.
And I think that sometimes we just need to actually get it down on paper and
Yes.
see it to make it real. And it doesn't have to be a big, great big long missive of the things that you're grateful for. I open my journal and I just
Mm.
point form 3 things every morning that I'm
Mm.
grateful for. And it just sets your day up to you just feel ready. You
Absolutely. I'm
feel
I'm a
ready.
great believer in journaling
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So there's that. There's also,
Mm.
so I have the meditation, the gratitude journaling, and
Mm-hmm.
then absolutely every day some form of exercise.
Mm-hmm.
It can be yoga, it can be going for a walk, it can be stretching, it can be anything, whatever
Mm-hmm.
turns my fancy that day. But as long as I
Yes.
move somehow, and
Mm.
by not setting up these rigid rules, it allows me grace
Absolutely.
to do what
Mm.
fits my day.
And I think that's the key thing here. It's got to be something you enjoy.
Yes,
Because if we don't enjoy it, we're going to dread doing it. We're
that's right.
going to have a battle in our own head about, oh, I've got to do that. I don't want to.
Exactly.
You're setting yourself up almost for a fall already.
You are. Yeah, you
Mm.
are. You are. So, it starts with that simple practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to call those my non-negotiables. They will happen every day, and I
Mm-hmm.
like to get them done in the morning. But
Mm-hmm.
the bottom line is we're busy people. So
Mm.
sometimes you just can't. So I've made a commitment to myself that I will get them done during the day.
Yes.
Because the mindset, I mean, our minds are tricky things
Yeah.
sometimes, right? And if we have committed to ourselves that, hey, I'm going to go for a walk today. I'm going to do it at 7:30. And then 9:30 rolls around and we haven't done it. It's, the messaging starts, oh, you failed, you failed, you failed,
Yes,
you failed,
absolutely.
right?
Punishment.
Yeah. So if we can just commit to doing it during the day and just get it done at some point, then we've fulfilled that commitment to ourselves. There is
Definitely.
no stress around it. There's no guilt around it. It's all about that grace. These are the kinds of things that we talk about in the
Mm-hmm.
sisterhood. And
Mm-hmm.
I really want to encourage women to find a space within themselves that can shine, right?
Mm, absolutely.
Whether that's through their creativity, whether it's through their work, whether it's through their crafting, whether it's through, it doesn't matter what it is, find a place where you can shine. And that's where we start. That's where we start.
Definitely. And what would you say to anyone that has said they've tried all the diets,
Mhm.
potions, etc.? The list goes on. What would you say is the missing link to get results?
Yeah, I've tried all of them, all the diets, all the magic
Mm.
pills, all the lotions, all the potions, tried them all. First of all, diets don't work.
Mm-hmm.
It's as simple as that.
Yes,
If they did work, then the diet industry wouldn't be $1 billion industry. So, um,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
The bottom line is we don't need any added stuff into our diet, into our
Mm.
exercise, into our day.
Mhm.
What we need is what we already have in our fridge, what we already have in our workout room or our gym, what we already
Mm.
have. You need to fuel your body with the best food possible. I'm also, I also hear from women a lot, but my budget. I get it. I get it. It's expensive to eat well. It really
Mm.
is. You know, you consider when you can go to McDonald's and buy hamburger and fries and a pop for, $6 or $7.
Mm.
But when I go to the grocery store right now, a lettuce is $8, right? So I get it. But the idea is
Yes,
to fill your
absolutely.
fridge and to fuel your body with the best
Mm.
food that your budget can allow, right? Don't stress yourself out about going over budget. So fuel yourself well.
Mm.
Drink lots of water. I mean, these are simple things, right?
Yes.
We know these things.
Yeah.
Drink lots of water,
Mm-hmm.
find a favorite tea and drink that. Like
Mm.
what anything that makes you feel like you're giving yourself a special treat maybe. And also don't restrict yourself
Mm.
ever. Restriction has no place in treating your body well.
Yes.
If you want the cheesecake, have the cheesecake. One piece of cheesecake is not going to derail you. 14 pieces of
And
cheesecake,
yeah.
perhaps, but not one.
Yes, absolutely. And the thing is, if you don't allow yourself to have these treats and have the
Yeah,
one piece, your mind's thinking, well, I want that cheesecake. I want
that's right.
that cheesecake. And you end up eating the whole thing.
You do. You do.
Yes.
I'm guilty of that.
Mm,
Yeah. So,
yeah. I can say the same.
yeah, yeah. But I think it really is important for us to remember that once we start feeding ourselves well, we feel better about ourselves. And it's that snowball effect, right? We just want to keep doing it and doing it and doing it.
Absolutely.
We're not hungry, but we're not
Mm-hmm.
overstuffed either. I don't want any of my clients, nor myself, to open the fridge and go, oh, I can't have that. I can't have that. Oh, maybe I'll have that. Oh, no, I better not have that. Or if I have
Mm.
that, I can't eat tomorrow. No,
Gosh, honestly, the stories we tell ourselves.
right?
Mm.
Yeah. So it's all about finding that it's all about finding that happy balance and remembering that the lotions and the potions and the diets
Mm.
are not going to help you do that.
Mm. Definitely not.
Yeah.
So, what resources do you recommend, tools, daily tips to anyone that wants to start a healthy lifestyle?
hmm The number one tip is to, first of all, throw this, if you have a weight scale in your
Mm-hmm.
house, throw it out,
Mm-hmm.
get rid of it. We put so much emphasis and importance on the number on the scale when we stand on it.
Yes.
We tie it to our self worth. We tie it to our ability to do things. We tie it to shame and blame. The number on the scale means nothing because our weight, especially as women, fluctuates hour by hour, day by day.
Mm-hmm.
And if you use that number to determine how well you're doing on something, you're setting yourself up for failure. So throw the scale out.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want to throw it in the bin, give it to, donate it or something. Just
Yes.
get rid of it. In my opinion, the only time that you should ever be weighed is in a doctor's office. And the only time a doctor should ever weigh you is when the number has some sort of medical significance to a
Mm-hmm.
treatment that you're having. So get rid of the scale. The second basic tip is find yourself a journal. Make sure it's a beautiful journal that you love, whether the paper is beautiful and, or the cover means something to
Mm.
you. Find yourself a couple of really nice pens. I love Sharpies because they're colorful and bright, but find yourself
Yes.
a couple of nice pens and start journaling. Whether that is a gratitude journal of just here's the date and here's what I'm grateful
Yes.
for today,
Mm-hmm.
or if you feel like
Absolutely.
writing, write.
Mm.
And then the third main tip is get rid of anything in your kitchen, anything on your cookbook shelf. So oftentimes we have cook or like diet books masquerading as
Mm-hmm. Mm.
cookbooks,
Yes.
right? They have fantastic recipes in them.
Mm.
Absolutely, they do. But they basically are diets. So they're causing you to add a restriction into your nutrition, which has no place if you're being kind to your body. You cannot be kind to your body and be on a diet at the same time.
Yes.
It doesn't
It's
work.
even just acknowledging that fact.
Yeah. Yeah. And, Anita, I'm not here to say that this is just going to be one and done. Right?
No, of
Like,
course not.
it's
No.
not going to be one and done. Many of us have lived in this mindset for
Mm.
decades, and it's going
Absolutely.
to take some
Mm.
practice. And I'm not here to tell you that I'm 100% perfect at this because sometimes, on that Facebook feed, those little diet pill ads come through, right?
Mm.
And I go, "Oh, what was that?" Still, after all these
Yes.
years. And
Mm.
then I know, oh no, that's not going to work. But I still look because
Yes.
we're bombarded with it daily, hourly.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So much out there.
so
Like
much.
you said, it's a multi-billion
Yeah,
industry.
yeah. They
It
make
really
money
is the
for a
diet
reason.
industry.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, my goal is I'm not a doctor,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a counselor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a woman who has been where perhaps my clients are now. I've
Mm.
already been there. I'm just a little further down the road.
Yes.
And, you know, the benefit, I think that the number one benefit that I bring to my relationships with my clients is that I know how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
I've been there. I
Mm.
know how frustrating it is. I know how hard it is. But, there are ways that we can work through this and find a place where we're happy today with the skin that we're in,
Absolutely.
right?
Feeling comfortable in our own skin.
Yeah.
So, Anne, where can the listeners find you online? What's your website,
Do you know
please?
the easiest and the best place to
Mm-hmm.
connect with me is on Facebook? I have my free Body Kindness Sisterhood group, and that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
the hub, Anita, where
Mm-hmm.
everything that's going on is housed. So whether it's a boot camp coming up, or whether the academy is opening, or there's freebies or things like that, that's where everybody can find all of that information.
Yes, and I shall put the link in the show notes so everyone
Fabulous.
can go directly to that.
Hmm.
Thank you for sharing your courageous journey and your knowledge. And I'd like to acknowledge you as well for doing the work on yourself.
Oh, thank
And
you.
by doing so, you are helping so many others.
And that's the name of the game, isn't it? We should be helping.
Yes. And Caissie. So we are all about create the courage to be fearless. What is your definition of courage?
My definition of courage: feel the fear and do it anyway.